welcome to the latest installment of My Dad Listens to This. I'm Juliet, the daughter.
And I'm Kevin, the dad.
And listeners, oh boy, with everything in music news this week, we've got to do 2 tribute episodes in a row. And if you've been paying attention to the news, then you know who this first one's going to be. I mean, even if you didn't, you could look at the title of the video. Today, in tribute to Sly, we're talking about the very best of Sly and the Family Stone. So, Dad, what do we need to know?
We need to know that Sylvester Stewart was born March 15th, 1943 in Denton, Texas, right before the family moved to, I'm going to mispronounce this, Vallejo, California, in the North Bay area of the San Francisco Bay Area. As a kid, he and his brother Freddie, along with sisters Rose and Loretta, formed the Stewart Four and performed gospel music in church. By the time he was 7, Sylvester was considered a musical prodigy. He could play keyboards, and by 11, he mastered guitar, drums, and bass. When Sylvester was in 5th grade, a classmate misspelled his name as Slyvester, and the nickname stuck. In the mid-60s, Sly worked as a DJ for soul radio station KSOL. Sly would also include non-soul acts, though, like the Beatles and Rolling Stones on his playlists. He also played keyboards for Dionne Warwick, the Righteous Brothers, and Marvin Gaye.
Whoa.
I guess when they were touring. He was also a staff producer for Autumn Records, producing San Fran bands like the Beau Brummels, the Mojo Men, Bobby Freeman, and Grace Slick's first band, The Great Society.
So even before he had his own band, he had a good career in music already.
Oh, yeah. Now, allegedly, Sly walked out on The Great Society after it took them over 50 takes to record a song called Free Advice. And Sly's free advice might have been...
This sucks.
You want my free advice? Break up. Anyway, by 1966, Sly was performing with his band Sly and the Stoners, which included Cynthia Robinson on trumpet. Sly's brother Freddie had his own band called Freddie and the Stone Souls, with Greg Errico on drums and Jerry Martini on sax. Sly and Freddie fused their bands, adding Cynthia's cousin Larry Graham on bass. They first called themselves Sly Brothers and Sisters, but after their first gig, changed it to Sly and the Family Stone. Sly's sister Valletta wanted to join the band, so Sly recruited her and her friends Mary McCreary and Elva Mouton to become the band's background vocalists. They were known as Little Sister. CBS Records exec David Kropalik signed the band to Epic Records after seeing them play at Winchester Cathedral, a nightclub in Redwood City, California. The Family Stone's first album, A Whole New Thing, came out in 1967, and it was a whole new thing. Sly's band was black and white, and there were men and women, and the women weren't in the background. They were core musicians.
Yep.
A Whole New Thing got great reviews. Even Tony Bennett was a fan.
Really?
But sales. Executive Clive Davis talked Sly into writing and recording another record.
Why does that name sound familiar?
Well, he was the president of Columbia Records, then he formed Arista Records, and then produced Whitney Houston, or probably discovered her.
Oh, okay.
And he was responsible for Santana's comeback with that Smooth song in that album.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So anyway, they were reluctant but came up with Dance to the Music. It came out in November 1967 and went to number 8 on Billboard's Hot 100. The album of the same name came out in April 1968 and sold well. Right before the single was released, Sly's sister Rose joined the band as a vocalist and keyboardist. The band's third album, Life, came out in September of 68. They didn't do that well commercially. In November of 1968, the Family Stone released a single, Everyday People. It went to number 1. It also served as the lead-off single for their album Stand, which came out in March of 1969. Stand sold 3 million copies. The band headlined the Harlem Cultural Festival on June 29, 1969, and for more of that, see the movie Summer of Soul. They went on to perform at Woodstock on August 17th. They released a non-album single, Hot Fun in the Summertime, which went to number 2.
That makes sense for Woodstock.
The band had truly made it, but then...
Troublish.
Yep.
Oh, crap.
Drugs, meet band. How you doing? Nice to meet you. Band, drugs. Hey, how's it going? Also, relationships in the band were deteriorating, especially between the Stone Brothers and Larry Graham. Epic wanted more songs, and the Black Panthers wanted Sly to replace Greg Errico and Jerry Martini and hire black musicians. I guess the Panthers kind of missed the part about 2 white guys having a black man for a boss. Nah, that's just me. I know. They also wanted him to fire their manager, Dave Krapolik. Sly had a couple of his friends be his personal managers and hired gangsters to be his bodyguards.
Oh, no.
What could go wrong?
Everything.
Yeah, now there was a rift between Sly and the rest of the band. Greg Errico left the band in 1971. There were a few replacement drummers until Sly settled on white guy Andy Newmark in 1973. Now, Andy would go on to drum for George Harrison, John Lennon, Eric Clapton, David Bowie, Carly Simon, Rod Stewart, and Randy Newman, among others.
Okay.
So he knew his stuff. While all that was going on, the band managed to release a non-album single, Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again, backed up with Everybody is a Star. It went to number 1 in February of 1970. Other than that, there was no new material, so Epic put out a greatest hits package that went to number 2 in 1970. Meanwhile, back in 1971, the Family Stone released their first single from their fifth album, There's a Riot Going On. Family Affair went to number 1, and so did Riot. But this was a different album. No more optimism. The 60s were definitely over.
Oh.
There's a theory that when the band played Woodstock, Sly looked out at the audience and he didn't like what he saw.
Why?
I don't know. He's like, you gotta be kidding.
Oh.
Anyway, Sly played most of the music and enlisted Billy Preston, Bobby Womack, and Ike Turner as musicians helping out. Musically, the sound was murky, and Sly kind of sounded drugged out on the vocals.
Oof.
The title track clocked in at 0 minutes and 0 seconds.
What?
In 1997, Sly said There's a Riot Going On had no running time because he felt there should be no riots. In his 1975 book Mystery Train, in his Sly Stone essay, music critic Grail Marcus wrote, the album was no fun.
Oh.
In 1972, Larry Graham left the band after a post-concert brawl between his guys and Sly's guys, who thought that Larry had hired a hitman to kill Sly.
Oh, come on.
Larry would go on to form, wait for it, Graham Central Station,
I love it.
which would at times, certain times anyway, include various members of the Family Stone. Larry would go on to have a huge solo hit with 1980's One in a Million 2.
I love that song.
And if you were at a wedding reception in the early 80s, chances were pretty good that this was the song the bride and groom first danced to.
I'd play
hands
that
down.
now. Not gonna lie. It's great.
I tell you, when I was about to send it off to your mom, it's playing on the computer, and your mom just totally went puddle.
Yep,
And
yep.
we danced to the whole thing.
That's why I said when I listened to that song last night, I emailed you and I said, if you don't like this song, I'm going to be very sad.
I do not have a problem with that song.
Okay, good.
Okay, anyway. Fresh came out in 1973. It got mixed reviews, but did garner a single, If You Want Me to Stay. Small Talk came out in 1974. Again, to mixed reviews and low sales. Also, in 1974, Sly married model actress Kathy Silva at a sold-out performance at Madison Square Garden. I don't know if the wedding was the opening act or what. Anyway, Sylvester Jr. was born in 1973. Sly and Kathy divorced in 1976 after Sylvester Jr. was mauled by Sly's dog.
I read that on Wikipedia and was like, oh my god, that poor kid.
He's still alive. Sly also had a daughter, Sylvette, with band member Cynthia Robinson, and he has another daughter, Novena Carmel. Meanwhile, the band was getting a bad reputation on the touring circuit. Maybe they'd show up, maybe they wouldn't.
Oh no.
Sly would sometimes walk off stage before the set was even over. In January of 1975, the band booked itself to play Radio City Music Hall, and it was only 1/8 full.
Oh no.
After that, the band dissolved. Sly put out 2 more albums for Epic, High on You and Heard You Missed Me While I'm Back. He signed with Warner Brothers and put out 2 more albums, Back on the Right Track in 1979 and Ain't But the One Way in 1982. Sly put out a few songs here and there for movie soundtracks, and he'd appear on other people's albums sporadically, such as Jesse Johnson, Bobby Womack, and Earth, Wind & Fire. In 1993, Sly and the Family Stone were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Everyone showed up but Sly.
Oh no.
Until the band took the stage to receive their awards, and then Sly just appeared out of nowhere. He got his award, he made a few remarks, and then just disappeared from public view until 2006.
What happened then?
He performed with the Family Stone at the Grammy Awards. There was some sort of Sly tribute.
Oh, okay.
The Associated Press referred to Sly as the J.D. Salinger of funk.
Wow.
Yeah,
Can't tell if that's a compliment or an insult. Maybe both.
could be.
Yeah.
Sly would go on to make short appearances here and there over the years. He signed with Cleopatra Records in 2009 and put out I'm Back, Family and Friends, which featured re-recordings of his songs with guest stars like Jeff Beck, Bootsy Collins, and Ian Wilson.
Any of them good?
Don't know. Haven't heard. Sly's autobiography, Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again, came out in October 2023. He told some. Before his death, Sly had completed a screenplay based on his memoir. As to whether the movie still gets made, who
We'll
knows?
find out.
But the family posted that they were still going to go forward with the project. Sly Stone died on June 9th, 2025, of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. He was 82. Now, as for me, as a kid, I was aware of Sly's music on the radio. It wasn't until 2012 that I bought a best of. I was in maybe Newberry Comics and did a compare and contrast with the original greatest hits from 1970 and 2012's playlist. Now, playlist has 10 out of 12 of greatest hits tracks. It doesn't include the tracks Fun and Life, which for me was okay because I never heard either of them. But playlist had tracks from There's a Riot Going On, Fresh, and High on You, so that sealed the deal. I surprised myself because usually Sony's playlist series is pretty lame. Too many live recordings of songs or even worse, re-recordings. But on this one, they got everything right. The songs were remastered, so they sound great. But the one complaint I have is they're not in chronological order. I think that would have helped. The booklet's pretty decent. There's an essay, photos, ample credits for each song. By the way, they were all written and produced by Sly himself. Photos of every album Sly and the Family Stone made for Epic, and a hilarious ad titled, What Makes a Perfect Playlist? There's no lyrics though, but you can find lyrics online these days. The back of the CD case lists not only all the songs, but the albums from whence they came and how long each song is.
Yep.
So let's dive into this.
Opening track, Family Affair. I remember the first time I heard this song. I was doing tech for a show at Rhode Island College, a play called Marvin's Room. You may or may not have seen the movie with Meryl Streep and Leonardo DiCaprio. I had the easiest job in the world of turning a set piece that was a wall. I loved it so much. At the beginning of the show, as the audience came in, songs would play over the speakers. I found out that each song played before the show started was selected by the actors. And the play Marvin's Room is about what happens when the main caregiver of the family gets sick and needs someone to take care of them. So someone in the cast chose Family Affair by Sly and the Family Stone to play on the speakers. What I remembered most from that first time is listening to that song is how low the singer's voice sounded when he hit the low notes on the words Family Affair. So when I re-listened to it all these years later, and it's been about 7 years since I heard this song, I didn't remember the woman in the opening at all. But I love the juxtaposition between her voice and the other man's. I love the opening of this song with how they talk about one kid who loves to learn and one kid who you just want to burn, but they both love their mom and they treat her kind. We hint at a little bit of the nature versus nurture debate. Let me talk about how time goes by and how you're in love and you still give each other looks, but then things happen in life and you just want to break down and cry. But hey, it's a family affair, which means this is something universal that we all relate to, no matter how good or bad we get it with our families. I wasn't expecting this to be the opening track, to be honest with you, but I'm very happy it was because it put me in a good mood and made me eager for the rest of the album.
Okay, this is from There's a Riot Going On, and this is why I wish this collection was in chronological order, because 11 songs on this collection came before Family Affair.
Yeah.
And they were either upbeat anthems or party songs. Like Hot Fun in the Summertime was a little laid back, but still upbeat. But Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again was almost an indication of where Sly was headed next lyrically. More on that later. But it was still upbeat musically. Family Affair took people by surprise. It wasn't uplifting or upbeat at all. Like, Mom's got two kids, like you said. One loves to burn and the other loves to learn, and the other you just want to burn. But like you said, both kids are good to Mom because blood's thicker than mud. And then the newlyweds are still checking each other out after a year. No one wants to blow. No one wants to be left out. But then it seems like things are just turning worse, and one of the people is caught. You can't leave because your heart is there, but you can't stay because you've been somewhere else, like maybe an affair, perhaps. You can't cry because you look broke down, but you're crying anyway because you're all broke down. It's like, they're trapped. Musically, this is really skeletal compared to everything that had gone before. There's not a lot of instruments and there's no horns.
There's one song that I argue is more skeletal, but we'll get to that later.
Okay, Sly plays almost everything. Bobby Womack plays rhythm guitar, and Billy Preston plays the keyboards, which are probably the most prominent thing in this song.
Yeah.
A very muted Rose Stone sings the chorus, and Sly himself sounds drugged out. His voice kind of has like a morning after quality to it.
Next
And
track.
sorry. And believe it or not, it went to #1 on Billboard's Hot 100 and stayed there for 3 weeks.
It's a good song.
That's the 70s for you. It would be Sly's fourth and last #1, and I'm just still amazed by that. I can just imagine Casey Kasem. And there it is, for the third week in a row at #1, Family Affair by Sly and the Family Stone.
I'm Casey Kasem.
Thank you.
Next track, Stand. From that drum roll, I thought this was going to be a protest song. And part of the lyrics can be interpreted that way by asking you to stand up for what you believe in. But it's really about standing up for yourself and your own personal beliefs. I think this song is great because there might be some people who are totally turned off to hear that message from friends and family. But if it's their favorite artist, they might be a little more open to it. A song about self-actualization and growth that makes you feel good.
Okay, so obviously this is from the album Stand. So yeah, it's definitely anthem time. So stand up for yourself, but realize it's not going to be easy. There's a cross for you to bear, things to go through if you're going anywhere. So it's kind of like asking, well, how bad do you really want it, huh? Huh? People will try to keep you down, but stand. There's a midget standing tall and a giant beside him about to fall. The most telling lines, I think, are at the end of the final verse. Stand, don't you know you are free? Well, at least in your mind if you want to be. I think Epictetus and the Stoics could relate to that. Musically, yeah, it's very, very upbeat. You can hear everyone. After the last verse, there's a sudden change in the music as it gets very funky, highlighting Larry Graham's bass, Freddie Stone's guitar, and Greg Errico's drumming, when Cynthia Robinson and Jerry Martini providing punchy horn accents.
Next track, Thank You. Valentine Be Myself Again.
You're welcome.
I like how the title of this track is spelled phonetically. To me, this song is about getting a wake-up call, and there's nothing that'll do that more to you than being confronted with a gun. And when he hits bottom, I think he's woken up to the fact he checked out a long time ago because he sold out. But now that he's up, his mama is happy, and he's thankful. Again, a very positive song about growth, but slightly different from the previous track.
This is from Greatest Hits, and it seems to me like the verses are all separate incidents. Like in the first one, Sly meets the devil, and the devil just starts shooting at Sly, who's running, but he stops and wrestles with the devil and is on top. Next, Sly's at a party where he feels uncomfortable, stiff in the collar, the place is stuffy, and he sings, "Thank you for the party, but I could never stay. Many things is on my mind, words in the way." That could be about Woodstock, perhaps? Maybe. The third verse is mostly made up of the band's song titles. Everyday people sing a simple song, dance to the music, and then he sings, "Mama's so happy, she starts crying." And Papa's still singing, "You can make it if you try." And I wonder sometimes with that line if that's meant to be a complaint. Like, Dad is still singing like their old stuff. He hasn't moved on to the new stuff yet. He's still singing the same old song. And the final verse is where things get dark, and you can kind of sense that he's probably going to go in a different direction. Many men are missing much, hating what they do, which I think probably Vietnam, perhaps. Dying young is hard to take. Selling out is harder. Because I think, well, you're dying young. That's hard for the person's family and friends to deal with. But selling out your beliefs or principles and having to live with that for the rest of your life,
That's gonna
could
smart.
be harder because once you're dead, you're dead. And through it all is that catchy chorus, which I think is all most people know. Every single band member sings co-lead vocals on this one. Thank You was also the song on which bass player Larry Graham introduced the slap technique, for which your Uncle Joey will always be grateful. Basically, the player uses their thumb to slap a bass string against the fretboard, causing a popping sound. It's very percussive. On 1971's There's a Riot Going On, Sly re-recorded Thank You as "Thank You for Talking to Me, Africa." The lyrics are exactly the same, but he slowed down the song and kind of gives the lyrics a new meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Again, check out Greil Marcus's Sly Stone essay in his book Mystery Train because he explains it a lot better than I ever could.
Next track, Hot Fun in the Summertime. My first note, I'm listening to this song while it's 100 degrees outside. The title reminds me of that song Lovin' in the Summertime from Regular Show that Rigby couldn't get out of his head.
Okay.
You remember. And I'm also going to make a statement. The guy singing Ooh, Ooh, Yeah, he sounds like the owl from Sesame Street who's saying you got to put down the ducky if you want to play the saxophone.
Hoots?
Hoots. You can hear it, right?
I can hear it.
This
That's Larry Graham doing that, I think.
Yep. This song brings the happiness of summer nostalgia. I like how the tempo stays slow because when it's really hot, you feel tired. But it's also slow because they're getting a bit high. And being stoned on a summer day, the way they sing it, there's a bit of romanticism. Makes you smile and think about lazy summer days.
Yeah. This is also from Greatest Hits. And yeah, Sly looks back on those summer days. End of the spring, and here she comes back. First of the fall, and then she goes back. It does not get more summer romance than that. Out of school, county fair in the country sun, good times. Sly, Freddie, Larry, and Rose are on vocals trading lines. The music is a laid-back shuffle, and I think it sets the summer mood perfectly. You just want that time to go so slowly, but it never does. And then next thing you know, you're back in school, and it's another long 9 months to go till next summer.
Yeah.
Just one of the greatest summer songs ever, hands down.
Whereas with work, unless you're a teacher, you don't get summers off. Next track, Sing a Simple Song. The opening is a wonderful musical rush, and on headphones, the music travels between your ears quite nicely. The woman in this song is not messing around. She sounds like Rita Moreno's director on The Electric Company.
That would be Cynthia.
Yep. And to bring it back to Sesame Street, this is their version of Sing a Song, but with a bit more funk and groove. I think the song also contains a good message about finding something meaningful to you that will help ground you. For them, it's a song, and actual humming or singing to yourself helps with anxiety attacks, so listen to them, people. The ending took me by surprise where they cut the music and they made it just voices singing in the studio, but it was a fun peek behind the curtain when they did that. These songs are really empowering.
This is from Stand, and Sly's watching time passing. He's getting older, things are happening fast, but he has a simple song to hold on to. Living with life's ups and downs, smiling at the frowns. When it's hard to smile, a simple song might make it better for a little while. Once again, Sly, Freddie, Larry, and Rose are on lead vocals. Cynthia chips in with her shouts of Sing a Simple Song, and when she shouts, try a little do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, Larry responds with a deep voice singing those notes.
Mm-hmm.
And the song kind of ends a cappella. Like you said, it just ends and then, you get to hear them.
Mm-hmm.
Larry and Gray keep the rhythm and beat very funky. I think those two just carry the whole song. Really wouldn't need anyone else playing on it. The groove is that deep.
Next track, Dance to the Music. When I heard the vocal scatting, my first thought was, oh, this is going to be a departure for them. But it really wasn't at all. What this song does is not only creates a song for everybody to get up and dance to, but it shows you how to do that by layering in different instruments such as the drums, the organ, the bass, and the horns. It's also clever because it introduces us to members of the band so you know what instruments they play. And even though they don't say their names, the exceptions being Cynthia and Jerry, now anytime you hear one of the other members singing out a track, you can go, oh, that's the drummer. Oh, that's the organ player. Very unique way to introduce members of the band. I really like it.
This is from Dance to the Music. It's just, an out-and-out party record. Cynthia screams at us to get up and dance to the music, and the rest of the song is Sly calling out various band members to play their instruments to build up the song. And if you listen closely, you can hear some of the names, but you got to listen really, really close. First it's Greg on the drums, then Freddie on guitar, and followed by Larry on bass, which I think is an interesting progression because for me, it would be drums first and then bass to establish the rhythm section and then bring everyone else in. But it's different. It still works. So Sly's on the organ and Cynthia and Jerry on the horns. And like I said before, none of the band really liked this song at first. They thought it was too poppy, but they recorded it for Clive, being the president of Columbia Records. And,
No choice.
Yep, because Epic, the Family Stones label, was a subsidiary of Columbia. But it became the band's first hit, and suddenly everyone knew who they were. And I think the band probably liked the song a little better after that, maybe. Another person who didn't like this song was Tim Parker, with whom I worked at Whole Foods. anytime it came over the speakers, he would just stop and he would lose it. And all of a sudden we'd hear, I hate this song. And I'd ask him, well, why do you hate this song? But he could never put his finger on the reason. He just didn't like it.
I mean, sometimes that's the case.
Yeah.
With music.
Nobody's perfect. So, Tim, if you're out there, you still need a reason.
Next track, Everybody is a Star. Okay, this title has a double meaning. First, all humans are made of stardust in the sense we share atoms and molecules that are the materials of the stars. Second, it's the Family Stone's way of telling us you are special. There are a lot of people who think it's dangerous to teach children that, but I'm going to get on my soapbox for a sec. I grew up with parents who told me every day that I was special. And did it give me an inflated ego? No, because they also disciplined me, balanced people. But it gave me a sense of self-worth that I'm grateful I have today. Getting off the soapbox now. This song is very chill vibes and it's also uplifting. They also explain how sometimes when the system around you feels like it's broken and stuck, the planet we live in is a pretty remarkable and beautiful one. It's not quite an environmentalist song, just so much as appreciating the beauty of nature around you. So a lot of meanings conveyed in 3 minutes, but all of them uplifting and lovely.
Okay, this is also from Greatest Hits. Let me run this by you. This is the first thing I thought of.
Okay.
Sly comes across as a funky Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
Everybody is a star. I can feel it when you shine on me. I love you for who you are, not the one you feel the need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Fred could have written that.
Fred could have sang that on his show.
He probably could have.
Bring Sly on as a guest star.
Oh, that would have been pretty wild. Once again, Sly, Freddie, Rose, and Larry are on lead vocals. This is a mellow song. It's not my favorite, but I've never skipped over it. I don't have a problem with it. I suppose it was placed here because it's kind of like a cool down after dance to the music.
Yeah, it's true.
Now I'm going to get into this a little more with the next song, but if everybody is a star, does that mean no one's a star?
Oh God, not that again. Next track, Everyday People. At first, Sly starts talking about himself. He's a regular guy who makes mistakes, and he's ordinary people. Then they get to the subtext of race, class, and gender. I love how they make fun of racists and xenophobes by singing to the tune of nya 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 nya. At one point, they do away with the subtext completely and say the quiet part out loud in case there was somebody listening to this song who didn't get it, which there are definitely people who wouldn't get it. It reminds me of that scene in Do the Right Thing when Spike Lee is talking to the son of the pizza shop owner and goes, "Who's your favorite basketball player?" Michael Jordan. "Who's your favorite musician?" Bruce. No, it's Prince. And Spike Lee says, "So if all the people you like are black, why the hell do you treat black people the way you do?" And he goes, "Oh, come on, man. They're not black. They're different." I'm sure Sly was very aware that people didn't see him as black and just saw him as a musician, which one hand some people would see as a good thing. But there are also some people who listened to his music, I'm pretty sure, that were pretty damn racist. And Sly was trying to get a point across to them the only way he knew how. Very well done.
Mm-hmm. This is from Stand. And yeah, Sly's plea for equality. I am no better and neither are you. We're the same whatever we do, which is very 60s peace and love, man. But I think it's a little naive, perhaps, because Sly is better. I mean, the man was a genius. I mean, not everyone could do what he did. I mean, I know I couldn't.
I think, though, he wanted to be treated like everybody else without fame, though. You know what I mean? Probably not have everybody asking for an autograph every 5 minutes, go into a restaurant without being hounded, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I suppose, hence the bodyguards.
He's like, "Listen, I'm a regular guy. I wake up, I go to the bathroom, I eat my meals, I go to bed. I'm just like you."
But then I'm also writing and producing some of the greatest music.
Yeah.
So, I got that going for me, which is pretty nice.
Well, but when it comes down to our base instincts, we're all the same.
Yeah. So, granted, everyone is created equal, but after that, it's a crapshoot. It kind of is. And, you're going to jump all over me for this, but I think The Incredibles put it best.
If everyone's super, no one is?
Well, if everyone's special, then no one's special.
Well, that's the superhero
Yeah,
line,
anyway.
So.
Meanwhile, Rose and Cynthia sing about the everyday people who can't get along. Yellow won't accept black, who won't accept red, who won't accept white, and so on and so on and so on, and Scooby-Dooby-Dooby. And then we've got that playground tone of nya 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 nya.
Scooby-Dooby-Dooby.
Ring around the rosy.
Pocket full of posies.
There
ashes,
you go.
ashes,
Same
we all fall down.
thing.
Where's our plague song, by the way? For those who don't know, Ring Around the Rosie is about the Black Plague, and people are like, we need a COVID version of Ring Around the Rosie.
I'm sure someone's already come out with that.
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
If you do know one, then please let us know.
One
Thank
was
you.
written on Tumblr about Miss Rona coming to visit. I'll see if I can find that later.
Okay.
Anyway.
Anyway, this song is funky. Larry plays one note on the bass throughout the entire song, which is the G note. So if you can find that on the bass, you can play this song. I could play this song. Not that it makes me special.
Not that Uncle Joey would let you touch his bass.
That's true, because it's one thing to play it, but it's quite another thing to come up with the idea in the first place. Next.
You caught me smiling. The version I found on YouTube was really not mixed well. When those high notes were hit, the speakers were screeching. This song is equal parts lust and love. He wants her to climb him like a tree, but with some post-nut clarity, his emotions hit him and he realizes this is more than that.
Did you say post-nut clarity?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yep, that's a real colloquial term, folks.
So there's pre-nut, nut, and post-nut?
Well, the only term I know is post-nut clarity. It's post-orgasm when your senses come
never
rushing
mind.
back to you.
As soon as you said that,
You should have figured that out.
As soon as you said the clarity, okay.
The lyric,
Never mind.
in my pain, I'll be saying to take your hand, expresses that quite touchingly, that he realizes this is more. Not a standout, but a good song nonetheless.
Okay, this is from There's a Riot Going On, and Sly's tripping on something, I think, hanging loose 'cause you ain't used to seeing me turning on. While he's high, he gets caught smiling through the whole trip, and at the end, he comes down from it. In my pain, I'll be saying to take your hand. And when he comes down, he stops singing the line, you caught me smiling. It's like back to reality, and there's nothing to smile about that. This is more stripped down funk, and surprisingly, Smiling only made it to number 42, just about to crack the top 40. But this still made the best of. And yet the song Running Away, which is also from Riot, made it all the way to number 23. But it's not in this collection for two reasons, I think. One, on Running Away, it's Rose on the lead vocals. And Sly sounds like he's somewhere on the song in the background.
Yeah.
And second, because Smilin' is a much better song than Running Away. And yes, I did not make you listen to Running Away.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Next track, I Want to Take You Higher. Okay, we already covered this song in our Tina Turner episode. We listened to both versions, but this rendition will always be my favorite. And in my opinion, it's the best on the album because it puts you in a trance. They quite literally take you higher onto another plane of existence as their voices overlap and the instruments groove in the key they chose. But what I noticed this time around is that the song doesn't keep repeating itself and changes its musical arrangement around the 3-minute mark. I was too entranced to notice, but I did this time, and I thought it was kind of cool that I was so locked in I hadn't observed it before. A perfect song.
This is from Stan. Sly wants to take you higher, but with his music. Beat is getting stronger, music's getting longer too, which it is since this song clocks in a little under 5.5 minutes. But to me, the song has never ever felt that long. Sly and the band also make much better use of the phrase "light my fire" than the Doors ever did. Come and get me, Morrison fans. The band gets in the groove and does not let up at all. Some people may think the song's name is Boom Laka Laka because they sing that phrase a lot, but it's not.
It's not, no.
If this song doesn't get you grooving in any way, there is just no hope for you.
Next track, Milady. I love this song. The opening easily sounded like it was going to be a jam session, and I would have been fine with that. And I love how at some point I couldn't tell if the music was coming from an instrument or a person's mouth. The trumpet sounded like someone hitting a high note, and the organ sounded like a person scatting. On headphones, it's even cooler to hear the sound travel back and forth. But the drums really shine here as they introduce the song and then take us out. All in less than 3 minutes. Doesn't overstay its welcome at all.
This is from Life. This was the B-side to the song Life, which is not on here because it peaked at number 93 on Billboard's Hot 100.
Oh.
Anyway, lyrically, there's not a lot going on here. Sly, Freddie, and Larry sing the praises of Milady. All I could think of was the Three Musketeers. Anyway, musically, it's dance to the music with different words. The band was hoping lightning would strike twice. It did not.
Oh.
Good song, but great song. Solid, though.
I disagree. I think it's a great song.
Okay.
Next track, If You Want Me to Stay. The singer on this sounds like that member of Parliament who had that Alvin and the Chipmunks thing going on WFUNK.
Probably George Clinton himself.
Not my favorite on the album. Very bare bones arrangement compared to the rest of their song. I think this is the one that's the most bare bones on the album as compared to Family Affair. Lots of instruments, but doesn't feel as fully fleshed out as it could have been. Honestly, I think Parliament could have taken the song and run with it. It's not poorly written or poorly sung, but it feels like the odd duck out of the bunch because it seems like they didn't work on it as much.
This is from Fresh. Per Wikipedia, the lyrics started out as an apology Sly wrote to Kathy Silva, who he married in 1974. Basically, I think it's like, I love you, but I gotta be me. And if I can't be me, I gotta move on. The old Popeye, I am what I am.
And that's all that I am.
Yep. So Sly plays almost all the instruments on this. Andy Newmark is on drums, Cynthia Robinson, Jerry Martini, and Pat Rizzo are on the horns. And that's it. If Sly's vocals sound a little different, it's because Varispeed technology was used to speed them up, which resulted in an artificially high pitch. And you may be wondering, what is Varispeed? I actually have a Varispeed control on the Techniques turntable, so it can do that to records. I can show you after. There's a light that tracks the speed of the turntable, and you can either increase or decrease the speed of the turntable, depending, like, if you want to get some sort of
for
effect.
rotations per minute.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Now, me being me, it has to be exactly 33 and a third or 45.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, the music is really stripped down, like it was on Sly's previous album, Riot. But in this case, the production on Fresh was a lot clearer and lighter. And this was Sly's last top 20 hit. And I actually remember hearing this song when it came out on the radio when I was a kid. 1973, I was 10 years old. Oh my God. But it did grab me then, and 52 years later, it still does. I just really like it. I like his voice. I like everything about this song.
Okay.
It might be my favorite track on the whole collection.
Oh, good for you, Dad. Next track. You can make it if you try. This song reminds me of a mantra with how repetitive it is with the chorus. I think it's done intentionally that way. It's like a manifestation of someone making it.
Well, it was like the 60s.
Yeah. Now, they do say that you have to put in the work, but if you can already imagine yourself in that position, then it becomes a little bit easier with that boost of self-confidence. Actually, I think I would use this song as a meditation, which would be a very interesting experiment.
This is also from Stand. And yeah, as they say, you can make it if you try, but also push a little harder, think a little deeper. More 60s positivity, but it was probably the last gasp, as it was 1969.
Yeah.
Flower power was wilting. RFK and MLK had been assassinated the year before.
Yeah.
But in the face of all this, Sly was clinging to the belief espoused in this song, and it wouldn't last. Sly, Freddie, and Larry are on lead vocals. Cynthia chimes in here and there with a shot of All Together Now. And at the 2-minute and 34-second mark, the left channel drops out, making you think there's something wrong with your speakers or headphones.
No.
Which it always gets me. I think, smacking the headphones, why isn't this working? Then at 2 minutes and 40 seconds, the guitar comes in at the left channel and you realize, okay, it's just stereo trickery going on.
Final track, I Get High on You. This song feels very 70s. What do I mean by that? Well, I can't see couples playing this in the bedroom today. It sounds like a disco song from Soul Train, and I mean that as a compliment. But it's the only song that feels really dated, unless you played this song on 420 while getting baked. Then it might feel appropriate, but again, can't picture this song for foreplay in the year of our Lord 2025.
Okay, this is from High on You, which was Sly's first solo album. This song did not crack the top 40, but it did go to number 3 on the R&B chart. Sly's got one thing on his mind, though. He doesn't want to be sneaky or too freaky about it. And unlike Jane Fontana, he's not getting wasted on you. At the end of the song, he insists he's getting high naturally. If you listen at the very end, I think this song is a high energy stomp, and it's very infectious. I can kind of see where you're coming from. It's almost like on the verge of disco with the beat.
All right. Overall, Sly and the Family Stone was a surprisingly uplifting listen. You forget I only ever heard I Want to Take You Higher. I wasn't expecting meaningful messages of self-improvement and growth and motivation. So if you want to listen to some oldies to boost your mood and also hear good music, play this.
Even though Sly and the Family Stone are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I still think they're underappreciated. Like recently, I mean, we had Sly died first, and then Brian Wilson died a couple of days later, and it was all of a sudden like Sly got kind of pushed to the side. Everyone's coming out with Brian Wilson tributes, and I'm thinking, there need to be some more Sly ones here. You know. But
Mhm.
anyway, well, like I said, they're still underappreciated after all these years. If you're not familiar with their music, I highly recommend Playlist. There's not one bad song on it at all, but I'm sure you can probably go on YouTube and find the full album of greatest hits, and that's fine too.
All right, as always, thank you for listening to Latest All, and my dad listens to this. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz, because the more you interact with the video, the greater chance we have of appearing on the YouTube homepage. If you follow me on social media, I post the episodes there. If you're friends with Dad, tell him what you want to listen to, and I'll send an email right to your inbox. Okay, listeners, as you could probably tell from how we closed this out, mentioning Brian Wilson, our next episode is going to be a Beach Boys tribute. We've got to figure out the scheduling and got to talk about it with Dad, because the time we normally record, I will be the opening weekend of King John at AS220, which I am performing in. So we might have to take a little break, but just know we will be working on Beach Boys in the interim to get that content to you to play tribute to Brian Wilson. Okay? All right, as always, thank you for listening to the latest installment of My Dad Listens to This. We'll be back next time with hopefully our last tribute episode for a while. Dad, anything you want to say before we sign off?
Yeah, people actually get confused by this, and there was actually a note on one of the Wikipedia pages, but people, Sly Stone and Sly Stallone are two different people. Rest in peace, Sly.
Rest in peace, Sly.